So this is now the swords. I'm kind of glad I'm doing them all together. I mean, you have the four videos, but at the same time, you can attack them as you want to. So this is the swords. And again, we've got the Ace of Swords. It's in a hand. Someone's being given something. The swords are air, and they're about our thoughts. And we keep in mind that thoughts really are a lot of our problems. They're also very good. The Ace of Swords is a fine card. It can really mean that you are having a really good thought of something that you can put a plan together that you're seeing that precise thing come along. It's like this victory of sorts that you can begin that plan, because you're going to be planning. If you're a sword, you're thinking so much that you're not just going to take the ace and run. You're going to have a plan, and this means that you've developed that plan. It can also mean that you're cutting free from something. You're just cutting free from whatever that is. So keep that in mind in a reading as well. But it is a good card. I mean, I believe that the majority of the aces are good. I mean, anything beginning can also be bad because you don't know what it is necessarily. But I do believe this is very much a victory card. I have also, though, had it come up in a reading where someone did a reading for me, and it came up as, oh, you're cutting free from things. So, which totally blew me away. The two, again, we're back to decisions, and this is an obvious card that says you're just thinking too much. So you got this on your mind, and you got this on your mind, and you got the two swords, and you're blindfolded. You don't have any room for anything. You can't see anything in front of you. So you're so focused on whatever those decisions are that you're not seeing any further. You're not letting go of either sword. And until you let go of either sword, you're not going to go anywhere. You're not going to do anything. You can't. I mean, you are stuck. You're sitting down. If you keep your swords like this and you're blindfolded, you're even going to have trouble standing. A lot of times there was one specific time where I got the feeling in the reading that whoever was this person needed to put down the swords, or at least one, take off the blindfold and turn around. The decisions to me were all behind her. These islands are decisions. Like, okay, do you do this, this, or this? So but the only way to see clearly what your choices are is take off the blindfold. And this usually just says you're stuck. Usually you're stuck on one thing. You have choices, you have a decision to make, but you're so stuck on one part that you're not willing to let it go. So this really is about a warning about letting go. Again, it leads to the little mini completion in the swords. The mini completions aren't the best things, other than the sixth, the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords comes to us when things aren't right and things are sad and your heart is broken. A lot of times when we're sad, it's our thoughts that are making us sad. And that's what we have to remember with the swords. These are a lot of difficult cards, but because we do that to ourselves by what we put in our heads. And that's what this is about too. However, a broken heart is a broken heart, no matter if you put it there or what have you. I do like to believe this too. I've read it as also a separation. So this could be just something as simple as being separated from somebody. Doesn't necessarily mean a breakup, but like literally, your loved one is going to be on the road for a little bit, be separated. Maybe he has to go on a trip, see somebody. Or it could mean that you're just separated emotionally for the time being. Doesn't necessarily mean the end of anything. I think it's sadness, definitely. You're going to have a broken heart, but we need to let these go through. Just drop. Let them drop. Hurt, be done with it. And that is a hard card. And when it comes up in a reading, when you're reading to a client, it's very hard to explain it. And that's where practice readings really kind of help when you have a hard card. I do see this as sadness, and I do see this as separation. And you can't sugarcoat too much. But sadness comes in a lot of ways. So where they could be thinking that this most important thing in their world could be what makes them sad, it might not be that at all. Actually, it might be because they get together with this person and it makes them sad. So, I mean, it's just all in the cards, and just be really careful and know that when you're telling someone that something sad could happen or did happen or is lingering, that's hard to deal with. When it comes up as a card of the day, it is also a reminder that when we hurt, don't let it linger. Don't let it stay in this position. Visualize the clouds clearing, visualize the swords coming out of the heart, visualizing revitalization. Don't stay sad too long, because staying sad too long is not a very good thing. The 4 follows the 3, and the 3, we were very sad and we were upset. It wasn't good. And now we're resting. And as you can see, this is like a you have to rest card. Because if you get up, you might hurt yourself because you go straight up into those other swords. And there's one right here laying beneath them. When this card comes up, it can be a warning that you need to take a break, that you need to rest. It can also mean just a time in your life where things are going to be very restful. It could mean take a rest because you might be getting sick or something of that nature. So it's just kind of an important card to remember those things. When I do it in a reading, a lot of times it just means like a dull moment. You know, it's a moment of nothing happening. A moment where you're just maybe getting to clarity of your thoughts, you know, allowing yourself to be clear on your thoughts. I too take this as a warning, because if you don't stay there and you get up, you might get into the fight. And the 5 of Swords is the fight. And it's an unfair fight usually. You've got 3 people. You've got one sad, you know, like he lost and poor little old me, and you want to have just walking away. And then you have the victor. And being the victor isn't always the bad thing. Sometimes that's the good thing. It depends kind of where the card comes up. But you can also see this as someone not winning fairly, and that can be a lot of it too. Or if you're doing a fight, a reminder to fight fairly. Don't be unfair, and don't cheat. So, but a lot of it's the way we feel. So remember, the swords are a way we feel. So when you're looking at this card and there's a fight, a lot of it's just in our head. Which one we are. You know, how does that make us feel? If we're not the victor, are we crying about it? Or are we just like, oh, I didn't win this time. It wasn't for me. And is this guy proud because he won? Or is he proud because he won and wasn't fair about it? Again, it's all in how we look at it and how our thoughts are. And then the 6, since we've had this hard time, the 6 is probably one of the best swords that we can have. It kind of looks sad because their heads are down, but he's taking this family away. And what it means is, as you can see, the water's kind of choppy, but the water's all clear here. So they're going to come out of the choppy water and go into more smooth water. So it's basically, really, this card is about moving in to a better place, a smoother place, a happier place. You're coming out of trouble. Someone's going to help. It could be someone's going to help you out. Or you're going to help someone else out. It's just a very good moving forward card. Talks about moving forward and getting out of trouble. When I use it as an action card, I do a lot say, remember, as you move forward, these swords are the lessons learned. So when you were having a hard time and when you felt like you were struggling, you keep in mind those swords in there are your lessons learned, so that when you move forward, take those swords with you. We have the 7, and the 7 is really, well, it can come up as being a thief or someone stealing something. It could also mean that you're taking back what's yours. It can mean being sneaky. As you see, he's looking behind you as he's walking away. He's looking behind himself as he's walking away. It can mean just take what you can and run, because he's got only 5 swords and he's leaving 2 behind. There's a lot of meanings to this. So when you're reading it, be kind of aware that it could mean a theft. It really could. I would say more, when I see this, I tend to always, because I'm such a cup half full lady, that I always see this as taking back what's mine. I'm taking it back now. But it might not be that. It might be someone taking from you. It might be someone being sneaky about what they're taking from you as well. So it could be all of those things. He is definitely, sneaking. And I think too, really depends on the cards around it. Usually when I see it in the future, I do kind of use it as a warning to watch things, to make sure no one's taking anything from you. If it's in a relationship, it kind of depends, because does that relationship mean that this person is going to, take things from you, like take advantage of you, take advantage of your good things? Or is it a warning that you need to not get so involved in the relationship that you don't keep what is yours? So something like that, but that's that. And the 8, this is always a tough card, but this is in your head, and that's what we have to remember with the swords. These are all thoughts. These are things that we can change. We're choosing to stay here. Now, being someone that's had anxieties and has had depressions and things of that nature, I know that it's not just something you step out of. And we have to recognize that when we do readings, that when someone is anxious or someone feels stuck, it's true. It's in their head a lot of the times, but it's very true. So the best thing to do as a reader is to remember how hard that is, and to give the best possible advice about getting out. So this is really about being restricted. She's tied up, she's blindfolded, she has all of the swords around her. Normally you can see some way out. There's a way out. This one doesn't show it as well, but and being restricted can seriously mean being restricted. Like the times and days of this COVID, stuff, we are restricted. We're restricted to go out. We're restricted all the time. It could be about that, not be in our heads, be it a true thing. It can be restricted in a relationship because it's a long distance relationship. You can only see each other when you can. It could be a restricted job because there's no room for moving up. It's not necessarily your fault that you're restricted. It can be a true restriction. But a lot of times it's just how we envision things. We think we're stuck. We think we have nowhere to go. Well, if you don't have anywhere to go in that job, maybe you can look for another job. So there's ways out. You got to find them. Sometimes there's not. I mean, I really do feel like right now in our society with the COVID, we are all restricted. And a lot of it's not choice, and we don't have a choice. So we have to learn how to get out in our own little world is what we need to do. So that's the 8 of Swords. And then the 9 of Swords. This is a tough card. And when this comes up in a reading, this is the anxiety card. And so anxiety is all about fear of the future. And that's exactly what this is. So when it comes up, someone is so focused on what's going to happen in the future and so worried about it that they can't get out of their head, and they can't get it out of their head. And this is an important card to focus on what comes after it, because when we're so focused on the future and so focused on what we don't even know, that can lead to bad things, because we could let go of what we can control. You can't control something. We don't need to learn how to let it go. Control what we can. And that's what I mean by swords being in our head. So on the 10. So when we look at this, we go, okay, you're sitting here worried about something. Well, are you going to make this happen? And what this is just literally the end. This to me is the closest card to death in the tarot deck, because it is an ending. Is it an ending up here? Is it letting go? Is it letting the swords fall and be as it may? Is it just a situation? But it's not the Tower where it's a sudden change. It's not death. It's more like a transformation. This is like literally letting the swords fall and letting it be letting it go. It's also a warning for your Nine of Swords. So when you're in an anxious spot, sometimes you just need to let it go. And this will actually be hard, but in the long run, this is the best way to get out of that 9, is the 10. And to me, this is kind of funny because all in all, when we are in our head and in our thoughts, the 10 is the final thing. We have to let it go. You gotta let the swords fall. You just gotta get out of your head sometimes. And that's that. Swords are not easy cards to get in a reading. They're not always bad, but they're sometimes hard to read because they can challenge you on the way to handle your querent. The Page of Swords, to me, again, pages are about messages, and he's definitely, I believe, handing a message, and the message is, I'm not moving. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stand here, and I'm going to stand tall, and I got my sword. Don't mess with me. And that's exactly how I see this card. This is a young person, and he is exactly that way. He is not moving. He is not budging, and he's protecting whatever it is he's protecting, and that's the way I see it. It's it can be good or bad. I mean, if the querent is coming upon this person, that might be hard. If the querent is this person, it means that they're just having that personality type at the time. It's kind of a crazy card. And now here's the fastest of all the knights. And he's the scariest of all the knights. He's got a lot of speed going on. And he is, remember, thinking. And he's got his sword at the ready. When he comes up in a reading as a person, we need to be careful about the way we read it, because he could literally be that not good for you person. He could be someone that is abusive physically, mentally. It doesn't necessarily mean he is. It can just mean someone that's really in their head and really about black and white and really about their thoughts, and a thinker. But he's a knight, so he's younger. And sometimes that means that they don't handle things quite the way they should. So this can be a scary card. I have someone in my life that is this person. He's not mean or does not abuse me, but he's kind of like this. He's either this or the Knight of Wands, but it does come up a lot, and I'm not afraid of it, because I think the idea is to know if there's someone being abusive in your life. And that does come up, and it is an important thing to remember, that when you're doing a reading, that you want to handle it with care and handle it with a lot of care, and maybe even having something at the ready to help your querent, because it is that serious. It can be that serious. The Queen of Swords, well, look at her. She's the same thing. She's got that sword up. She's got her hand up. She looks very stoic, very clear and cut, and this is the way it is. And they are thinkers. Proof in the pudding. Everything has to be proved to them. They're scientific-y almost, because I don't see that. Prove that to me. Show me how that can happen. That's the type of person we're dealing with. And I don't mean always so like mean about it, but yeah, they're very to the point. They're very intellectual. They do. They're very smart. They're in their head. I mean, it's all about being in your head and in your thoughts. And usually people like that are very intellectual. And I would say this is the King. Now, this could be also a problem, just like the Knight. And same with the Queen. She can be a problem too, in a female sort. And he can be a real big problem as well. However, he can also be a persona you need to take, and that taking that sturdy, planning, thinking about it, not believing it just because approach to something that, I need to figure it out. I need to do the calculations. I need to know what's right. So that can be it too. So there you have it. We went through all the cards. So I will get these posted so that you can have them, and you can review them as you like. Any questions, please let me know. I'm going to put them on my blog. I'd really like to get the blog going so that if people do have questions, we can converse there easier than on YouTube. I'm not as good at conversing on YouTube. I don't know why. The comments just don't always work for me, right? And I think it's on my phone, but I'll learn. Thanks.